Do you remember the day your child first opened their eyes? That tiny cry, those perfect little fingers, that moment when your whole world shifted on its axis. Many of us have spent our lives devoted to our children, watching them grow, celebrating every milestone, wanting to give them everything we never had. Sometimes that love comes back to us tenfold. But sometimes it flows in just one direction, like a river that never returns to its source. This is the story of Margaret, a woman who gave everything to her son, a woman who spent her final years in a nursing home, writing words that would haunt her son forever, but only after she was gone. If you've ever been a mother, a son, or anyone who's loved with their whole heart, this story will change you. Margaret Davis was born in 1952 in a small Pennsylvania town, where everyone knew everyone. She married Robert when she was 23, a good man who worked at the steel mill. They tried for years to have a baby, visiting doctors in Pittsburgh, spending money they didn't have on treatments, praying every Sunday. When Margaret was 36, the miracle finally happened. After 14 years of marriage, she held her son Michael in her arms and whispered a promise. "I'll give you everything, baby. Everything I never had." Michael was a beautiful child with dark curls and his father's quiet nature. Margaret poured everything into him. She sewed his clothes, packed elaborate lunches, volunteered at every school event. Robert worked double shifts so Margaret could stay home with their miracle boy. When Michael was 8, Robert complained about stomach pains. By the time they found the cancer, it had already spread. 3 months later, Margaret was a 44-year-old widow with a mortgage, medical debt, and a little boy who kept asking when Daddy was coming home. The night of the funeral, Margaret sat at the kitchen table, looking at bills she couldn't pay. She had $600 in the bank and a mountain of debt. But she also had a son who deserved a future. "Mommy, are you crying?" Michael stood in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes. "No, sweetheart. Mommy's just thinking. Go back to bed." She kissed his forehead, waiting until she heard his door close before she let herself break down. The next morning, Margaret got up, washed her face, and started calling everyone in the phone book who might need help. She would survive this. She had to. Michael needed her. Margaret worked 3 jobs. She waitressed at the truck stop on Route 22, cleaned houses during the day, and stocked shelves at Walmart on weekends. She slept in 4-hour shifts, her alarm clock her constant enemy. Michael came home to an empty house most days. He'd heat up whatever she'd left in the fridge, do his homework alone, go to bed before she got home. The other mothers at school would chat about their kids' soccer games and dance recitals. Margaret served them coffee at the diner, nodding along, her uniform smelling like grease. "Mrs. Davis, we missed you at parent-teacher conferences again," Michael's 5th-grade teacher said one day, catching her in the parking lot. "I know, I'm so sorry. I had to work." "How's he doing?" "He's brilliant. Really brilliant. But he's quiet, withdrawn." "Does he have friends?" Margaret felt that familiar stab of guilt. "He's fine. He's just adjusting." But he wasn't fine. Not really. He was a latchkey kid who ate dinner alone and fell asleep on the couch, watching TV, waiting for a mother who never came home before midnight. When Michael was 15, she collapsed at work. Exhaustion, the doctor said. Malnutrition. Her body had been running on fumes for 7 years. Michael visited her in the hospital, and something in him snapped. "You're never around," he shouted, tears streaming down his face. "I see you maybe an hour a day." Jessica's mom makes her breakfast every morning. Tyler's mom drives him to basketball. "What do you do?" "Work." "That's all you do." "Michael, please. I had to learn to shave from a YouTube video. Do you know how embarrassing that is? My own mother couldn't even be there for that." Margaret reached for his hand, but he pulled away. Baby, I'm working so hard so you can have. Have what? A mom who's too tired to talk to me? I'd rather be poor and have you actually there. He stormed out. Margaret lay in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she'd gotten everything wrong. But what choice did she have? Bills didn't pay themselves. Still, she tried. She cut down to 2 jobs, even though it meant dipping into the college fund. She made it to more of his things. Not all of them, but more. Michael softened, little by little. When he got accepted to medical school full scholarship, Margaret cried for an hour straight. Her boy. Her brilliant, beautiful boy. A doctor. I did it, Mom. I'm going to be a doctor. He hugged her tight, and for a moment, she felt like all those years of exhaustion had been worth it. Your father would be so proud, she whispered. I know. I'm going to make you proud too. I promise. Michael graduated medical school, did his residency in Philadelphia, and came back home to open a family practice. He married a lovely woman named Jennifer, a nurse from the hospital. They had a son, little Ethan. Margaret's life got easier. The small house she'd bought with Robert's life insurance had appreciated in value. The neighborhood was gentrifying, and the little cleaning business she'd built had grown. She now managed 5 other women and barely lifted a mop herself. Mom, sell the house. Move in with us, Michael said one Sunday dinner. He'd just signed the lease on a medical building downtown. We have plenty of room, and you could help with Ethan. Jennifer nodded enthusiastically. Please, Margaret, you shouldn't be living alone anyway. Margaret hesitated. I don't want to be in the way. In the way? Mom, you raised me by yourself. Let me take care of you now. So she sold the house, poured the money into Michael's new practice, and moved into their spacious colonial in the suburbs. She had her own room, her own bathroom. She spent her days with Ethan, that beautiful little boy who looked just like Michael had at that age. For 3 years, Margaret felt like she was finally living the life she'd always dreamed of. Family dinners, story time with Ethan, watching her son succeed. Then came the day everything changed. Margaret, dinner's ready. Jennifer called out. Margaret walked into the kitchen, confused. Ready? But I just set the table. We already ate. Jennifer and Michael exchanged a look. Mom, we haven't eaten yet. It's 6 o'clock. We just got home. Margaret looked at the table. It was set. Had she done that? She couldn't remember. Oh, silly me. I must have. I don't know. Lost track of time. But it kept happening. She'd forget conversations from 10 minutes ago. She'd ask Ethan the same question 3 times. One day, she left the stove on and nearly started a fire. Mom, I think we need to see a neurologist, Michael said gently one evening. The diagnosis came 2 weeks later. Early stage Alzheimer's. Michael cried. Jennifer cried. Margaret sat there numbly, thinking about all the years she'd sacrificed, and now her mind, the one thing she had left, was betraying her. For a year, Margaret stayed with Michael and Jennifer. But it got harder. She'd wander out of the house at night. She'd forget where she was. She started having episodes where she didn't recognize Jennifer, accused her of stealing things. Jennifer was patient at first, but Margaret could see the strain. The marriage was suffering. Ethan was scared of his grandmother now. And Michael looked exhausted, torn between his practice, his family, and his failing mother. Mom, I've been looking into memory care facilities, Michael said one morning. His voice was gentle, but Margaret knew what was coming. You want to put me in a home. It's not like that. Meadowbrook is beautiful. They have activities, nurses on staff, 247, people your age. I don't want to go. Mom, please. You need professional care. And we need our lives back. Ethan's struggling. Jennifer's exhausted. I can't keep doing this. Margaret looked at her son, this man she'd sacrificed everything for, and felt something crack inside her chest. But what could she say? She was the burden now. Meadowbrook has a really nice garden, she said quietly. Mrs. Chen from church is there. She says the food's not bad. Michael's face flooded with relief. So you'll go? You've already decided, haven't you? He looked away. That was answer enough. The day they moved her in, Michael, Jennifer, and Ethan all came. They toured the facility, met the staff, set up her room with photos and familiar items. I'll visit every week, Mom. I promise, Michael said, hugging her. I know you're busy, sweetheart. Don't worry about me. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. And then they left. Margaret sat on the edge of her new bed in her new room that smelled like industrial cleaner and old age, and wondered how her life had come to this. The visits were weekly at first. Then every 2 weeks. Then monthly. Then every few months. Michael was busy with the practice, Ethan had school activities, Jennifer had her own life. They called sometimes, but the calls got shorter, less frequent. Margaret's mind came and went like waves. Some days she was clear, sharp, herself. Other days she didn't know where she was or who she was. The staff at Meadowbrook were kind but overworked. She was just another elderly woman, one of dozens, waiting to die. On her clear days, she'd sit by the window and watch families visit other residents. She'd see grandchildren running down the halls, adult children bringing flowers and home-cooked meals. She'd watch them leave and wonder when Michael would come. He didn't come for Christmas. Too busy, he said on the phone. He'd visit soon, he promised. He didn't come for her birthday. Emergency at the practice. He didn't come when she fell and broke her hip. He sent flowers. 2 years passed. Then 3. Margaret's health declined. Her mind was mostly gone now, lost in fog. But sometimes, in brief moments of clarity, she'd remember. And in those moments, she'd take out a piece of paper and a pen, and she'd write. The staff found her hunched over at her little desk, shaking hand moving slowly across the page. Day after day, she'd write during her clear moments, fold the paper, tuck it away. What are you writing, Margaret? A kind nurse asked once. A letter. To my son. That's nice. I'm sure he'll love it. Margaret just smiled sadly and went back to writing. Margaret passed away on a Tuesday morning in March. The nursing home called Michael at his practice. He arrived 2 hours later, too late to say goodbye. She looked peaceful lying there, her hands folded on her chest. Michael stood in the doorway, unable to move. When was the last time he'd visited? 6 months ago? 8? He couldn't remember. Jennifer and Ethan came for the funeral. It was small, just the 3 of them and a few people from the nursing home. No friends. No family. Just the wreckage of a lonely death. They held the service at the funeral home, cremation to follow. Michael sat in the front row, dry-eyed, feeling nothing. Or maybe feeling everything at once: guilt, relief, sadness, anger. He didn't know anymore. After everyone left, Michael sat alone in the viewing room, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring at his mother's urn. A nursing home administrator approached him. Dr. Davis? I'm so sorry for your loss. Your mother was a lovely woman. Thank you. We found this among her belongings. She'd been working on it for, well, quite a while. We thought you should have it. She handed him a worn envelope with his name written on the front in his mother's shaky handwriting. Michael stared at it for a long moment before opening it. The letter inside was wrinkled, as if it had been folded and unfolded many times. The handwriting wavered, some sections barely legible, as if written during her worst days. He began to read. My dearest Michael, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I hope it was peaceful. I hope you weren't too sad. I want you to know that being your mother was the greatest joy of my life. From the moment I held you, screaming and perfect, I knew my purpose. You were my miracle after so many years of hoping. I know I wasn't always there when you needed me. I know you came home to an empty house too many times. I know I missed games and concerts and moments I can never get back. I'm sorry for that. I was just so scared we'd lose everything. I thought if I worked hard enough, I could give you the life your father wanted for you. When you became a doctor, I felt like every sacrifice had been worth it. You were everything we dreamed you'd be: smart, successful, kind. Your father would have been so proud. I don't blame you for the nursing home. I know I became too much to handle. I saw how hard it was on Jennifer, on Ethan, on you. I never wanted to be a burden. That's a mother's worst fear, to become the thing that drags her child down. I won't lie and say I wasn't lonely there. I was. Especially toward the end, when the visits stopped coming. I'd sit by the window on Sundays and watch the parking lot, hoping to see your car. But you were busy. I understand. You have a practice, a family, a life. I'm proud of everything you've built. Sometimes, on my clear days, I'd wonder if I did everything wrong. Maybe if I'd been home more when you were young, we'd be closer now. Maybe if I hadn't sacrificed so much, you wouldn't have learned to live without me. But then I remember you're alive. You're healthy. You're successful. And that's all I ever wanted. I want you to know that even if I forget your name, even if my mind goes completely, my heart knows you. It will always know you. You are woven into every fiber of my being. You were my purpose, my joy, my reason for everything. I want you to live without guilt. Don't torture yourself over missed visits or unanswered calls. I understand. Life moves fast, and I was just one person in your busy world. That's okay. That's how it should be. Children grow up and away. That's the natural order of things. Take care of Jennifer. Be there for Ethan in ways I couldn't be there for you. Break the cycle. Be present. Time goes faster than you think. Thank you for being my son. Thank you for making my life mean something. Thank you for becoming the man I always knew you'd be. If there's a heaven, I'll be there with your father, both of us watching over you with so much pride. And if there isn't, then I'll live on in your memories, in the soup I used to make you when you were sick, in the birthday cards I saved every dollar to buy, in every moment I loved you with my whole heart. I'd do it all again. Every sacrifice, every hardship, every lonely night. Because you were worth it. All my love, forever and always. Mom. Michael's hands shook as he finished reading. The letter fell to his lap as he buried his face in his hands and sobbed deep, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere ancient and broken inside him. He cried for the mother who'd worked herself to the bone for him. For the lonely woman in the nursing home, watching the parking lot. For all the visits he'd meant to make but didn't. For the phone calls he'd let go to voicemail. For the years she'd spent alone while he built a life she'd made possible. He cried because he finally understood the weight of her love, and it was crushing. Jennifer found him there an hour later, the letter clutched in his hand, his eyes red and swollen. Michael? Honey? He looked up at her. I abandoned her, Jen. She gave up everything for me, and I just left her there. You didn't abandon her. You don't. Please don't make excuses for me. He stood, folding the letter carefully. I need to go home. I need to think. In the car, Michael looked at his phone. 12 missed calls from Ethan's school about a parent-teacher conference. 6 texts from Ethan about his basketball game. When was the last time he'd made it to one of those games? When was the last time he'd really been present for his own son? He thought about his mother, working 3 jobs, falling asleep at stoplights, giving everything. And he thought about himself, successful, comfortable, but always too busy. Always one more patient, one more meeting, one more excuse. History repeating itself in a different key. That night, Michael came home to find Ethan doing homework alone at the kitchen table. Hey, bud. Hey, Dad. Michael sat down across from him. I'm sorry I missed your game last week. Ethan shrugged. It's okay. You were working. It's not okay. Michael reached across the table, covering his son's hand with his own. Your grandmother passed away today. Ethan looked up, surprised. Oh, I'm sorry, Dad. She left me a letter. Want to know what it said? Sure. It said to be there for you. To not make the same mistakes she did the ones I'm making. Michael felt his throat tighten. I've been absent, haven't I? Just like she was. Just like I blamed her for being. Dad, when's your next game? Friday at 6. I'll be there. Front row. And I'm going to make every game after that. Every concert, every play, every moment I can. Because time moves fast, and I don't want to end up alone in a room somewhere, writing letters to a son who stopped visiting. Ethan smiled, and Michael saw in his eyes the same hope he'd once felt as a boy, waiting for his mother to come home. That weekend, Michael returned to Meadowbrook one last time. He stood in the room where his mother had spent her final years, looking at the window where she'd waited for him. The staff had cleaned it out already, new resident moving in next week. Life moves on. But Michael stood there anyway, the letter in his pocket, and whispered into the empty room, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry, but I promise I'll do better. I'll be the father you wished I'd had. I'll break the cycle. I'll remember you. I'll honor everything you gave me. A shaft of sunlight came through the window, warming his face. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was something. Either way, Michael finally understood love shouldn't have to beg for scraps of time. It shouldn't have to wait by windows, hoping to be remembered. It should be lived now, fully, before it's too late. Before all you have left is a letter and a lifetime of regrets. Margaret's story isn't unique. Across the country, in nursing homes and assisted living facilities, there are mothers and fathers who gave everything, sitting by windows, waiting for children who mean to visit but never quite do. Life gets busy. We tell ourselves there will be time. We'll visit next month. We'll call this weekend. We'll make it up to them eventually. But eventually runs out. If you still have your mother, your father, anyone who sacrificed for you, call them. Visit them. Don't wait until you're reading a letter and realizing you missed your chance. Don't let their final years be spent wondering if their love mattered. Because it did. It always did.